there was some stuff I ended up missing in the therapy side of this conversation, and I just wanted to go into some more detail on the actual data on the therapies themselves. Um, a few things to note. One being the amount of psilocybin they actually used was 30 milligrams, um, which is hard to translate into an actual amount of mushrooms because it's pure psilocybin. They're actually using a pharmaceutical to do all of this. This has also spurred some controversy for those who think that there's more to mushrooms than this one singular active compound. In the same way, a lot of herbs have multiple compounds that have either synergistic effects or balancing effects. I guess that would still be synergistic, that reduce other side effects. So that's just something to bear in mind here, that these people aren't using what you'd classically be able to get a hold of on the streets, so to speak. So that's one thing to bear in mind, but 30 milligrams of pure psilocybin is pretty crazy. Um, they measured the outcomes on these people first, like 7 hours after the ingestion. So once the trip was over, because again, it takes roughly 6 hours for psilocybin to wear off, and then they did a follow up 2 months later to get an idea of how these people were doing. So, this is Roland Griffiths' work, and it came out of Johns Hopkins. I'll have this study down in the notes here so you can actually go look at it in more detail, but I'm going to cover a little bit of what went on. A lot of people have heard about this, but I think it helps give you a reference of the potency of this experience and the profundity of the experience. So, um, uh, stunned to find about 50% of the people who took the psychedelics, they rated it among the top five most personally and spiritually significant experiences. So over half put it in the top five. Like, you'd be hard pressed to come up with something that, like, that that's not placebo, right? Like, that's kind of one reason they were doing this. Is like, how you're gonna sit someone down with some eye shades on, with some soft music, and you're gonna make them have one of the most intense experiences of their life in the top five most significant. No, no. So this is one reason it goes above and beyond. In the placebo group, only 8% rated the experience like that. So the frame of reference, it's like you do have a therapist there, you do have someone to talk to. That can be significant. 8%, but over half the people. Yeah, no one in the placebo group rated it as the most important experience of their life, but 15% of the people said it was the most important. So, let me shrink myself away in the corner here. All right, you're not going to be able to read the first one, but it just says peak score underneath that. But this is one of the big takeaways is you have methylphenidate was the substance used for a placebo in these trials. So this was something really difficult because this is a classic image people refer to where it's like there's one group of people in one room just having a normal conversation for like a therapist relationship, and the other group is everybody's in a circle dancing with each other naked, and the guys who are having the normal experience, they're looking over there at the other guys and they're like, I think we had the placebo. So these things are so potent that you can tell if you had it or not, and that's been one of the big problems. So they use methylphenidate, which I believe functions similarly to Adderall, that's the meth part, or Ritalin, and so you get an effect, and hopefully can be spurred on to believe that something's going on there, but not really the case. So this is the main. So stimulus and arousal. This is how they would rate it, and psilocybin was much higher. Talking. So this is the stuff that I wanted to point out. So you have less talking going on. You have more crying. You have more anxiety and fearfulness, and you have way more joy and happiness and peace and harmony. So what I really like about seeing the statistics here is you can, first off, you can see that methylphenidate just makes you talk like nobody's business, but on top of that, you can really paint the picture of what's going on, where it's, I like it because you see still that it's not just sunshine and rainbows. People are experiencing and rating that there is fear, there is anxiety, and yes, that is a big part of this, but there's also intense joy, happiness, and peace. And sometimes when people are crying, that's part of it. For me, for an example, I don't think I cried over this. I've cried over, I've had one experience where I cried a lot of, while taking this, but one thing I had that brought me a lot of joy and was humbling was just, it kind of, my imagination took me away to realizing how much my mom did for me growing up. So that's those are the types of things that that you can get emotional about. And yeah, it can be sad stuff. There was one event where, there was a girl I liked and she didn't like me, and I really came to terms with the fact that I was trying to ignore how I felt about her. And, it all came crashing down on me. I cried for like 15 seconds, and then it was really good on the other side of that. And I had probably one of the best days of my life following that, because I felt freed from being tangled up in something I was in denial of. So this is something I wanted to kind of point out to paint the experience from a collection of anecdotal information that he has collected. Also, actually, I could show you guys this too since I'm here. There's another graph here. I'll pull up this guy. Yeah, this is all coming from my book, but I just accessing it on the Google Doc. So this is just a rating of how important these events were for people. As you can see, the psilocybin group, it's at least the most important thing that happened to them that year. And so once every 5 years, most people it's that and up. So most people it's amongst the top 5 all time, single most significant thing. Again, 1 out of 10. I mean, this is pretty crazy. Most of the time it's going to be considered top 10 or top 5 most important experiences of your life. This is the significance of these types of events, and I think this gives a window into how, I get the best word I can come up with is important these substances are. Like, clearly something very profound is happening here, and these are like adults. These aren't like kids running amok and people who are seeking out this experience to the same degree. These are there's a video, I'll find the link for it, I'll put it down there, but if you look at their study people, the volunteers, they're pretty young, or not, sorry, they're not pretty young, they're pretty middle-aged, and they don't look like they're party seekers. And that's the main thing, is this is something that is hitting people really hard who are not they don't look like me. How's that? Like, I look like I go off, and I look like I do this all the time because of this hair. But no, like, these look like your run-of-the-mill mom and dad kind of vibe. Got through life pretty happy, everything's good, and they're having these profound experiences, and they're seeing benefits when used in this setting.